The morning sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the downtown cafe, as Alexander Hayes sat reviewing quarterly reports on his tablet. At 38, he had built a tech empire from nothing, turning a small startup into a billion-dollar enterprise. His mornings followed a precise routine: black coffee, financial news, and absolute focus before heading to the office. He was mid-sip when a small voice shattered his concentration. "Excuse me. Mom said you are my dad." Alexander's coffee cup slipped from his hand, clattering onto the table and spilling across his reports. He looked up to find a little girl, maybe 6 years old, standing beside his table. She wore a blue dress, a pink knit hat, and clutched a worn teddy bear. Her eyes, startlingly familiar green eyes, watched him with a mixture of hope and nervousness. "What did you say?" Alexander managed, grabbing napkins to mop up the coffee. "My mom said you are my dad. She showed me your picture and told me to find you here." The girl held up a photograph, old, creased, showing Alexander from 7 years ago at a college graduation party. Alexander's mind raced. 7 years ago, before the company, before the money, before he had become someone who controlled every variable in his life. He stared at this child who claimed to be his daughter. "Where is your mother?" he asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "She is in the hospital. She has been really sick. The nice lady from the city services brought me here and said to wait while she parked the car. But I saw you through the window, and I knew it was you from the picture." Alexander stood abruptly, looking around the cafe. "We need to find that lady. You should not be wandering around alone." "I am not alone. I am with you. You are my dad." She said it with such simple certainty that it made his chest tighten. "Sweetheart, I think there's been some kind of mistake. What is your name?" "Emma. Emma Hayes. Mom said I have your last name because you are my father." Before Alexander could respond, a harried-looking woman in a county services uniform rushed into the cafe. "Emma, oh, thank God. You cannot run off like that." She turned to Alexander apologetically. "I am so sorry, sir. I only stepped away for a moment to move the car." "Who are you?" Alexander demanded. "I am Sarah Chen with Child Protective Services. And you must be Mr. Alexander Hayes? How do you know my name?" Sarah pulled out a folder. "Because Emma's mother, Victoria Hayes, listed you as Emma's father. She was admitted to the hospital 3 days ago with stage 4 cancer. She does not have much time left, and she wants to see you. She sent me to bring Emma to meet you first." Alexander felt the world tilt. Victoria. He remembered her, a brief relationship in college, intense and passionate, but ultimately incompatible. They had parted ways 7 years ago after graduation, and he had not heard from her since. "She never told me she was pregnant," Alexander said, his voice hollow. "She said she tried. She called, sent letters to your old address, but you had already moved, started your company. She decided to raise Emma alone rather than disrupt your life." Sarah looked at Emma with gentle eyes. "But now she is dying, and she wants Emma to know her father before it is too late." Alexander looked at this little girl, Emma, studying her features. The green eyes were his, the shape of her face, the determined set of her jaw that he saw in the mirror every morning. "I need proof," he said, hating how cold he sounded but needing to protect himself. "DNA test. Documentation. Mom said you would say that," Emma interrupted, reaching into a small backpack. She pulled out an envelope and handed it to him. "She said to give you this." Inside was a handwritten letter in Victoria's familiar flowing script, along with hospital records, birth certificates, and DNA test results already completed, with instructions for verification. "Alexander, if you are reading this, then Emma found you. I am sorry I never told you about her. I tried, but life got complicated, and you seem to be building something extraordinary. I did not want to be the burden that held you back. I have cancer. The doctors say I have weeks, maybe days. I do not regret raising Emma alone. She has been the greatest joy of my life, but she deserves to know her father. She deserves to have someone when I am gone. I am not asking you to love her instantly. I am not asking you to change your life. I am asking you to meet her, to give her a chance, to let her know she is not alone in this world. Please, Alexander. She is the best parts of both of us. Victoria. Alexander read the letter twice, his hands shaking. He looked at Emma, who was watching him with those impossibly familiar eyes. Would you like to meet my mom? Emma asked. She is really nice. Even though she is sick, she still smiles at me. She told me you are very smart and very busy, but that you have a good heart. She said if I showed you that I am brave and kind, you might want to be my dad. Something broke open inside Alexander's chest. He knelt down to Emma's level. I would very much like to meet your mom. At the hospital, Victoria looked impossibly fragile in the bed, her once vibrant features hollowed by illness. But when she saw Alexander, her face lit with relief. You came, she whispered. Why did you never tell me? Alexander asked, trying to keep the emotion from his voice. Because I knew you would do the right thing, Victoria said. You would have given up your dreams, married me, tried to make it work. But we were not right for each other, Alexander. We both knew it. I did not want you to sacrifice your future out of obligation. That should have been my choice, I know. And I am sorry. Victoria reached for Emma, who climbed carefully onto the bed. But I gave you something anyway. I gave you her. She is brilliant and kind, and so much like you it breaks my heart. Please, Alexander, when I am gone, please take care of our daughter. Over the next 2 weeks, Alexander divided his time between his office and the hospital. He got to know Emma, her love of mathematics, her curiosity about how things worked, her bravery in the face of losing the only parent she had ever known. He also spent time with Victoria, hearing stories about Emma's childhood, learning about the struggles and joys of the past 6 years. Victoria had worked as a freelance graphic designer, living modestly but happily, always putting Emma first. I do not know how to be a father, Alexander admitted one afternoon while Emma napped in a hospital chair. Neither did anyone else when they started, Victoria said. You learn, you show up, you love her even when it is hard. That is all any parent does. What if I fail her? You will. Every parent does sometimes. But you will also be there for her. You will give her opportunities I never could. Most importantly, you will help her remember that she was loved by both of us. Victoria died on a Tuesday morning, with Emma holding one hand and Alexander holding the other. Emma cried against Alexander's chest, and he held her, this daughter he had known for only 2 weeks, and made a silent promise to the woman who had given him the greatest gift he never knew he wanted. The transition was not easy. Emma moved into Alexander's penthouse, a massive space that felt even emptier with a grieving 6-year-old wandering its halls. Alexander hired a nanny, enrolled Emma in school, and tried to maintain his work schedule while learning about parent-teacher conferences and bedtime routines. But slowly, something shifted. Alexander found himself leaving work early to have dinner with Emma. He read her bedtime stories and helped with homework. He learned to braid hair and distinguish between different cartoon characters. Emma, in turn, brought life into his carefully controlled world. She asked questions about everything, challenged his assumptions, and reminded him that success meant nothing if he had no one to share it with. 6 months after Victoria's death, Alexander was tucking Emma into bed when she said quietly, I am glad Mom told me you were my dad. I am glad too, Alexander said, surprised by how much he meant it. Do you think she would be happy that we found each other? Alexander thought about Victoria's letter, about her final wish that Emma would not be alone. I think she would be very happy. Emma hugged her teddy bear, the same one she had carried that morning in the cafe. I miss her, but I am glad I have you. I am glad I have you too, Alexander said, kissing her forehead. If this story reminded you that family can find us when we least expect it, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment about unexpected blessings that changed your life.